another episode of Wow TV. Thank you so much for being here, wondrous online women. With us today, the ever most beautiful Ruth Bradshaw, an animal whisperer and a holistic therapist. Hi, Ruth. Thank you so much for being here.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I love the purple. It really suits you. And as you can see, it's one of my favorite colors.
Thank you.
Choice that earns extra points in my diary. Okay, so when we got in touch and you said, I'm an animal whisperer and holistic therapist, I'm like, wait, what? An animal whisperer. I'm not that unknowledgeable about it, but what does an animal whisperer do? What is your gift?
Well, it's a fantastic question. Actually, an animal whisperer is a person that's able to facilitate a two-way conversation between two different species. So in my instance, I communicate with cats, dogs, horses, small furries, exotics, and have communicated with wild animals. And I'm able to have a conversation a bit like this, except you don't see animals talking with their mouths and using words. But the communication comes using all 6 of the senses. And that's the skill is learning how to trust them and use all of the 6 senses rather than just the spoken word, which is what we do with human to human communication.
Okay, so the next question for me is, how did you discover this? Like, did you make a connection with animals since a young age? Did something happen? How did this come about? This is really intriguing.
So it's fantastic question again. It's a combination of things, really, not just one event on its own. I've always had an affinity with animals. The first story I ever wrote was about a baby bird that I rescued, a little goldcrest. I have grown up with cats and rats and ferrets and dogs and horses and donkeys and all sorts of animals. My first job, age 11, was in a pet shop. I have had very strange, what I said at the time they were strange, but actually really heartfelt experiences with animals in the wild or agricultural animals. Growing up, opportunities presented themselves when I went travelling. All sorts of things happened. I did it 3 months in a camper van around Europe, and we'd open the doors with my girlfriend from primary school, and the cats would come flocking, and she'd say, like, how many here? Oh, there's only 7. We're going to feed these ones while we're here for a few days. And so the affinity with animals has always been there. And it has been the same on water as on land. I've had whales come out of the water to make eye contact with me. Of course, I dismissed it at the time as just a happy accident. But actually now I realise that, they were actually sending me messages. I took on my own rescue cat in 2012, and I very clearly heard her communicating with me. This is going to sound really weird, but with voices in my head, and I dismissed it. I dismissed it as my wild imagination, or I'm just pretending that I can hear her say what I want her to say to me, even though she was quite rude sometimes. And I actually got an animal communicator in to help communicate with her because she was showing some unwanted behaviours as going to the toilet on my bed and being very clearly unhappy, pulling fur out between her legs. And even when the communicator told me a very simple thing to do to help her, I put it into place and the negative and unwanted behaviour disappeared. I still didn't really think I could do it, and I didn't really think that it was a real thing. There was that distrust. The logical part of my brain was like overriding the other side of my brain. And then I found a video found me on YouTube about Spirit, the Black Panther.
Okay.
That changed everything. It was after that I knew it was really possible, that it would really change animals and humans' lives. And I went on a mission to find out who could teach me, where could I learn, and really went on an intensive study period. To be fair, being an animal communicator, in my opinion, is a lifelong apprenticeship because we learn so much from animals. So I don't ever see it's going to end my learning, but actually there's the intense period of learning how to do animal communication. I got that under my belt, learned with some of the greatest communicators in the UK, went to the States to learn more, and then applied it with the animals that I work with. But so yeah, it wasn't just a one day I woke up and went, yes, this is it. It has been an evolving process, and now I know my gifts, and I am not afraid to go out there and talk about my gifts. Thank you, Angèle, for this opportunity.
Oh, my pleasure.
Now, actually, I realised that there were lots of signs along the way, but I didn't know what to do with them. And, you know, someone says to you, I've been getting these voices in my head every time I connect with a cat. The first thing a lot of people are going to think is, oh, she's a bit crazy. So I understand why, especially growing up in the society that we do, why that would have been so difficult to recognise and actually take out there, because recognising it I did long before I went out in the public about what I do. And
did you practice with the animals you had at home, perhaps, as a trial run?
Yes, I practice with animals at home. Actually, animals at home were a lot more of a challenge than animals closer by. So I work with my mum's animals and some close friends' animals. And I also worked with, in the workshops and the training that I went on, we worked with other people's animals, both here and in spirit, and also in person and via a photograph. So we had lots of opportunity to practice. And actually, once I qualified as a professional communicator, the 12 months after that, my mentors and I have to submit a certain number of case studies each month, so I can go out there as a paid professional communicator. But actually, for my first 12 months in the real world, I've been handheld by my mentors and providing feedback and guidance, because this isn't just this is a box and this is how it works. Animal communications is individual as the animals, as we are people. So you can't say, in this instant, this is what will happen, because there's so many other factors.
So the first, there are two questions that are coming to mind. You said you don't use the English language, so I feel that you're referring to perhaps intuition. And also the second question, perhaps we can answer after that, is I was not brought up with many animals, just a bird, and I don't call myself an animal person. So would that affect the relationship or bond created with animals? And is that similar to someone who lives with animals, or is it completely different than being a whisperer? Sorry, there was like 5,000 questions. So the intuition part first.
Oh, absolutely.
Is that intuition? Do you just feel it? Intuition
is everything.
Like a sixth sense, right?
Absolutely, it is our sixth sense. So, but in schools, in society, everything talks about our five senses. The medical industry talks about five senses, but we have six. And to those non-believers out there that's poo-poo intuition, another word for intuition is gut reaction or gut response or gut feeling. And for those that are right in there, and for those that are really open and really into all of this, your intuition is part of your psychic abilities. Now, for some people, that can bring up feelings of quite uncomfortable feelings, but actually, it's the same thing, just labelled differently. So it is absolutely key, and it is also about using all six of our senses. So often an animal will communicate with me and I'll hear dialogue in my voice, but with their pronunciation and maybe their accent or some of the words that they might use. So some animals are very, have an air about them. I've got a cat in my cabin with me and he has got an air about him. Other animals are really down to earth. Some are really cheeky and really funny, and they tell you jokes and make really funny statements about things. So yeah,
it sounds like fun, to be fair with you. I mean, okay, if you like put a secret camera and maybe I see you from home, I'll be like, what is she doing? But at the same time, I think managing to communicate with animals, is this something that someone can learn, or is it something that someone has and can make more sensitive and, you know, practice more and become better at it?
Everybody is born with this gift. Absolutely everybody. Children are a perfect example of this. So children talk about their imaginary friends. They talk about mythical creatures, and believe them wholeheartedly with every ounce of their being. But society says, oh, that's nonsense. Oh, that's made up. Oh, that isn't true. Oh, you can't see that. You know, we only use 10-20% of our brain. So what about if a child uses 12 or 22% of their brain? We have no way of being able to measure that at the moment effectively. So it's very easy for people who are unaware or fearful or have their own views and opinions on things to just dismiss this. But actually, children are very, very open, and as they get older, sort of between sort of 5 and 7, they start to shut that down. But we're all born with it. Now, some people will have a natural affinity, or this comes to them very naturally, and other people it's a bit more challenging, or it takes a bit more practice. But there are all sorts of things that interfere with our intuitive abilities, and diet and nutrition and our environment really impact us. So electromagnetic energy interferes with our intuitive abilities. Heavy metals interfere with our intuitive abilities. Eating a low vibration diet, processed foods, lots of alcohol, lots of sugar, actually cloud our energy and make it harder for us to hear our intuition. Having a busy life, being caught up in working for money and chasing the dream rather than the heart, actually shut down intuition. A lot of people, the whole binge drinking culture totally blurs your intuitive abilities. So if your body is clean and following a good natural organic diet, you're going to be a lot better receiver of information, but also having a really good sense of self. And you have to know what's going on in your body, because when you communicate with an animal, I've just been joined by one of mine. Hi baby. My very 12 or 13-year-old Oriental pussycat. Yes. And I've lost my point there slightly. But actually, it's a combination of things. So when I'm communicating with an animal, I don't necessarily always get a voice communicating with me. Sometimes I'll get feelings. So if I don't know what's going on in my body before that happens, how can I know what I'm being told by that animal? So
I love how you put the journey together, because I'm experiencing that as well, and I'm fine-tuning my intuition. And sometimes I have days where I literally feel I'm off sync. And what I do is actually get out of the house and go in nature and go for a walk. And yes, I followed your advice. I was hugging trees and I was touching plants, and it literally like calms you down in seconds. And then you come back and you're like, why wasn't I seeing this before? Or like if I wake up agitated or anxious, it just leaves. But you do need, it's true, to find yourself, and then obviously then you are more open to realize what your gift is. Is that what you are saying?
Absolutely. And you raised a really key point there. Going out in nature is vital to our well-being. And I feel for children in inner city schools that don't have it at their fingertips, but I do know that the forest school sort of trend is running throughout the UK. I'm not sure if it's spread further into Europe, but children are being taken out of the classroom into local woodlands to go and actually play in the mud and collect leaves and touch sticks and connect with trees. I know with my own stepson, we've taught him to be kind to trees and appreciate them and to hug them. It's so important. It's very grounding. It brings you back to earth. And when we're caught up in our to-do lists and our work and our pressures and our deadlines and stresses of life, we're disconnected. We are animals too, and we come from Mother Earth. It's very easy to get caught up in glitzy, glossy glamour and pizzazz of life, and actually, you know, there's something really humbling about getting down into the earth and planting or appreciating nature or walking through the woodland or just putting your hands onto the bare grass or taking your shoes and socks off and walking across the grass. That's really, really soothing and nurturing for the body. And it also helps to work as a tonic to all of these, you know, electronic devices and all of this interference we have around us. Yes.
going back to basics.
Yes.
Literally removing and just being us, because I think perhaps this skill or gift was more fine and more strong in older times, but perhaps we used to call these people witches or whatever names we used to use just to, you know, address them and put them in a category so that people understand. But then obviously with knowledge and with literally now being always at our laptops or at our phones, and you know, we really forget. And for me, it's vital that I daily go out. And I'm really glad that you brought this up, because most of our viewers here as Wondrous Online Women, what my aim is that they realize that they have a gift and then they use that gift. But when you are talking in the beginning, you mentioned your video of Spirit, and was this the big black panther that changed?
With the goosebumps all over me.
Oh my gosh, go for it. Perhaps not all our viewers have watched it. Just, yeah, I don't know if you want to share the story. Feel free if you want to share it. But
I'll just share a little bit because it's so beautiful. But if you're thinking, you know, this lady Ruth, she's a bit cuckoo, that's fine, that's totally fine. Go and watch the video on Spirit. So look up on YouTube, Spirit the Black Panther or Diablo the Black Panther. And it tells the story of a big black cat that was rescued from a zoo in Germany. He didn't get the best treatment, and he went to a place in South Africa where he could live out his days with no expectations on him. But he was vicious. He attacked the owner, he put him in hospital, and the owner was in conflict because he had the sanctuary to provide a beautiful haven for these animals, and this cat wouldn't come out of his holding pen. He was terrified. He growled at everyone, he snarled at everyone. He didn't have a good quality of life. He wasn't enjoying his life. And eventually the owner was convinced, persuaded to let this lady, Anna Breitenbach, come in and communicate with his cat. Watch it, because, I mean, take a box of tissues. I need them every time I watch you, but I'm pretty sensitive, and you might be a bit, well.
So was this video, you're literally, it's like someone gave you a little box and the video was like a peep into, oh my gosh, I could do this? Did you realize whilst you were watching the video that you have that gift? Were you partaking with it? What happened during the video?
So when I watched the video, it came to me through Facebook, and I'm a big believer in what's meant to be is what will happen. So it was obviously meant to be, I was meant to see it, and I watched it, and I had previously experienced animal communication and incidents and coincidences and synchronicities. But when I watched this video, it proved to me that not only is it actually possible, but that I was able to look up the lady Anna Breitenbach and look up what she did. She has a business from it. Because of the success of the video, she's had to shut all bookings because she's literally booked off the radar. So that again was a testament to me that people are out there, they want to better understand their animals, but also that I could see the transformation. So the owner of this sort of sanctuary, big cat sanctuary, he was really straight, like black and white. So this for him was, you know, this is one of those grey, in the grey sort of modalities, and he was absolutely pessimistic about it. And you saw the transformation on his face during the video, and then him and his wife went on to learn how to do it themselves and use it with all their animals, and they changed in a heartbeat. They just changed. So I could see how not only does it create a better bond with animals, a better quality of life for animals and the humans that look after them, but that all the things I had previously dismissed as me being a bit imaginative or a bit woo-woo or were actually real, and it was possible. Yeah, entirely possible. So, and I mean, the love that you feel when you watch the video was animal communication or animal whispering is also called heart-to-heart communication, because that's what you do. You get your ego out of the way, your brain out of the way, and into your heart space. So I dare you to watch the video and not feel it in your heart. Yeah. I mean, everybody that I've shared it with so far has gone, oh, a little tear, or I bawled my eyes out, or it's a happy ending, just so you know.
So whoever is watching us, Ruth, and is wondering, like, how can this woman help me? Let's talk about, because you mentioned sanctuaries, obviously also pet owners. So who can gain with your services and with what you do? And are there tips that you can share perhaps in this little tiny interview for people who are pet owners?
Absolutely, yes, of course. So I could work with any animal that has a human looking after it. I wouldn't, it's not part of the animal code of ethics to work with animals that are not going to get the backup and support from their humans.
Wow, okay.
So animals have been able to communicate with us for a very long time, and we haven't been listening or heard them properly. So when a communicator comes along and communicates to them, if I'm not then able to relay that information to their carer or their human, the animal is potentially going to become really disappointed. And actually what I want to do is get the word out there that communication is possible with your animal, and that you want as many people as possible to get involved with this rather than shut it down for the sake of the animals. So that's a key factor. I was thinking about your questions, how best to answer them.
And then if perhaps besides pet owners, there are other, I don't know, pet shop owners or sanctuary owners or anyone who's watching this who is in communication, or, you know, there's pets around them or animals around them.
Absolutely. So I can work in person, and that is very, very insightful. Equally, I can work via a photograph or via Zoom, which is equally insightful. It's a different experience because they don't get to meet me and see how their animals interact with me in person. But the messages and the insights are equally profound. I can work with people who keep cats and dogs, pet owners, horses, small furries, exotics. I would love to work with people who have got private collections of animals, game, or more rare animals. Sanctuary owners who would perhaps like me to come down and work with some of their more troubled or emotionally damaged animals. And I would love to look at getting into schools and pet shops to do educational pieces about how, you know, best to approach your animal care. And equally with sanctuaries or pet stores to be able to do some talks about this subject, because there's so much information that I can share with you that will just tweak how you approach looking after your animal. And what that will mean is that they will be happier and you will be happier, and hopefully with some good natural wellness and holistic approaches that they will have a really well balanced life and future ahead of them.
Out of pure curiosity, what was the smallest animal that you've worked with and the biggest animal that you've worked with?
Oh, okay, so the smallest animal so far is a rat.
Wow, okay.
A little female rat who was having some cysts kept breaking out, and we had to give her medicine. She didn't want to be handled particularly, and she has to take homeopathy to help her. She now just takes her homeopathy, just give it to her as a little tablet. She takes it every day like a sweetie. And the biggest animal so far would be a horse. So the biggest I've worked with is a Frisian, he was a retired funeral carriage Frisian. Once upon a time, he had a very, very important job and was beautiful and magnificent and spectacular and very, very majestic. Yeah, absolutely. He is majestic. He's the biggest so far. But yeah, I would love. Now that's interesting you say that, because I remember going to South Africa in 2006 and going to meet some orphan elephants. And I came away and I knew that they touched me, and I felt a surrogate mum. I felt her hostility at us being there. They say elephants never forget. Please apologise. Sorry, I have another cat joining me.
Oh, look, they're all floating. They know we're talking about them. Hi.
This is Dippy. The lady who wants to be in on the action. They're all on my lap. But so, in a way, I was communicating with elephants before I became a communicator. I would love to go back to Neisner and actually communicate with some of the Ellies there.
And you mentioned in water as well, right? You were on a boat ride and they came to you?
So again in South Africa, I was in a place called Ganubi in the Eastern Cape at a friend's house, and their deck basically went out. There was a little tiny road along the edge of the Indian Ocean. And there's the Indian Ocean. And I was there in spring. So in springtime, you get this massive mackerel run. But with the mackerel come the bigger fish, and with the bigger fish come the mammals. And every morning, I was there for 3 weeks, would see probably thousands, actually, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dolphins swimming, followed by the whales. And the whales, at first, I thought they were just very expressive. But they came out of the water. Now, I've never been in a position, before that, I hadn't been in a position to see whales that close in their natural environment ever. So with the binoculars, you know, I'm absolutely transfixed on this activity in the ocean. And the whales would come up out of the water, and their eye is looking right at my eye. And I was goosebumping all over my body, but I didn't have the skills that I do now. Or I did have the skills, but I didn't have the professional training that I've had since. And yeah, I was just absolutely captivated. Every day I'd get up and be like, wow, I wonder if the whales will do it again. Because, of course, I spoke to the people that I was staying with, and they say, oh, we see the whales and they're quite playful. And I'm like, but they seem to be making eye contact with me. And they said, well, yeah, that's what you're experiencing. That is what you're experiencing. So, yeah, amazing. Absolutely incredible. And
I just got ideas of you being able to help zoos, aquariums, like even if it's a big place, you know, you'd obviously be able, oh my goodness, that would be so life-changing for them and for you.
Absolutely. And I would love to. I'm about to start doing that this year, running some small workshops, sharing my gifts with people and how they can learn how to do it themselves. But eventually I would like to do transformational retreats with animals and healing energy. More on that later this year. But you asked about a tip that I could share for animal carers and owners, something simple to start with, is actually about getting quiet. Your animals will communicate with you all the time. I ask you, dog owners or cat owners, how does your cat know exactly when you're going to come home from work, even when you've stayed late and got caught in traffic and been out for dinner? How do they know exactly when you're coming home? They don't read a clock or a watch. So they are communicating with you. Oh, I'll share this. This is before I share that. So animals understand so much of what we say and what we think. So they are connected to us in a different way to how we connect with humans. They don't connect on Facebook or Twitter. They connect with their heart and through their energy. So if you want to communicate with your animals, you need to get quiet to be able to hear them. And you need to be able to tune in with your senses. So things that you can do are earth yourself, take your shoes off, get your feet on the grass. Meditate you could meditate for a few minutes or an hour, but get really quiet and really peaceful. Now this old brain can be a blessing and a curse, and you get lots of chitter chatter. So actually practicing meditation daily, even if it's for a minute or 3, will help you to learn to quieten that. Because how can you hear what an animal is saying to you through non-verbal communication if all you've got in your brain is, I need to do this and I need to buy some potatoes, we're doing dough for mashed potatoes tonight, that's what go in the oven, then tomorrow, blah, 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 and then the washing, I've got to pick the kids up from school, and oh, I must make that phone. You are not listening, you are busy in your brain. So less busy, more quiet. And there are simple things you can do. You could just light a candle and focus on a candle. You could go for, I hear this a lot, I can't meditate at all. In fact, I used to say it myself years and years and years ago. Meditation doesn't necessarily mean some sort of holy grail, Buddhist type situation in a robe high up on a mountain. You know, if you're a busy person and an active person, what about trying a walking meditation? So walk in nature, but walk with intent. You are walking and you are in the present moment, being mindful of that. Of course, monkey mind will wander off to things, but bring it back. And one of the most simplest things you can do is connect with your breath. So if you're on a walk, connect with your breath, and then maybe just focus on your senses. What can you hear? What can you see? What can you smell? What can you feel? And what thoughts are popping up? And the key is not to then get into a dialogue internally about, oh, I thought about that leaf is a beautiful orange, and oh, I'd love to have that orange in my lounge, and then the next thing I know, I'm redecorating my lounge. Oh no, bring it back to, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I feel? What can I smell? And breathe. And those simple practices will help you to hear and feel and sense the communications you're getting with your animal. The other key component is, if you're in here, it isn't going to work. You need to drop your energy and your focus from here into your heart space.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And that is also applicable to anyone who's watching this. This does not have to do anything with animals. I have to do what you just said. Maybe perhaps do my walk with more intent. So thank you so, so much for that. It's really, really a lot of value there. So thank you, Ruth. I know that we would be able to talk for another hour and a half or 5, but we need to wrap up. But first of all, where can they find you? So for people who are looking for, they have no idea how to manage their pets, or if they are interested in what you were sharing with regards to the photograph, or physically or through Zoom, how can people connect with you?
Thank you, absolutely. So I've got a website, www.talktoallanimals.com. But equally, you can find me on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter as Ruthy Doolittle. So RUTHY Doolittle, DOOLITTLE, and that's Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And I have a Facebook group. It's a private group, so you do have to answer 3 little questions, and you won't be allowed in the group if you don't. You just want to make sure that the vibration and frequency of the group is absolutely heart-centered. But come and join the group, because that's where you can get all sorts of free tips and advice. There's videos in there, and it's not just me. I've got all sorts of animal professionals in there, including a holistic vet and natural dog treats and all sorts of other amazing people in the group. So you've got lots of people there to support you with your animal's holistic healthcare journey.
Fabulous. And we'll obviously put all the links in the comments below. So thank you so, so, so much, Ruth, for that. I really appreciate you and your time and sharing your gift, because at the end of the day, this is what we do here at Wondrous Online Women. We realize we have a gift, and then when we start sharing it with the rest of the world, just there's harmony, and it's just zen, you know, everything is in perfect alignment. So thank you once again. And if you have not seen that video with Spirit, if you had not seen that video with Spirit, just we will put it in the comments as well, and connect with Ruth for anything in relation to animals. She will make your life and the animal's life more beautiful and more heart-centered. Thank you once again, and speak very soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.